of DBS. I was actually just saying to the general manager of DBS that every activity which DBS has to carry for the government, we pay DBS. So I said to him that I may have to get the Secretary Cabinet to send DBS a bill to pay the Treasury for my appearance in DBS. You know, um, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me. Yeah, yeah. Well, we're still in hurricane season, and of course, with the um, change in the climatic conditions and the climatic calendar, we can expect a storm at any time of the year. I mean, we've had storms in December, in November. So, and in the hurricane season, we see a heightened activity. And therefore, we do not want to take anything for granted, and we need to ensure we plan. And as I said, in other situations, we cannot afford a a damage of $10, far more for millions, because we're still in the rebuilding mode post tropical storm Erica. So the cost is huge. Resettle entire communities, reconstruction of roads. The Douglas Charles Airport for the reconstruction cost the Treasury $70 million thereabout. Just to respond to Erica. So the cost is significant, and the present challenges which every country in the world is experiencing now. The benevolence of many countries would be challenged now. In Asia, every country, several countries in Asia are really going through a difficult time with typhoons there, and major flooding, with hundreds of deaths and serious destruction in many countries in Asia. So we do not want to take anything for granted. As you know, we have been placed under tropical storm watch as of 11 a.m. today, and we are taking precautionary measures. And you indicated that the National Emergency Planning Organization and the cabinet met today, this morning, to review our preparedness, to ensure that every base is covered insofar as our preparations for the impending storm. We do not want anybody to take this for granted. That whatever actions we can take to mitigate against damage or destruction, we should do it. So we got a report from every committee, or most of the committees, at least the critical committees for this stage. We're talking about health services, telecommunications, the committee dealing with food and general supplies, the committee dealing with emergency shelters, or what we call hurricane shelters, and utilities. So we got reports from each of those institutions, each of those committees, on what have they done in preparation for this storm, because we really do not know what this storm will bring to us, but we have recent memory of what tropical storm Erica did to us, and therefore we must fix our minds on that. We don't have to go back to 1979. We have to go back 2 years ago to understand that we can't take anything for granted. And if you were to tell any Dominican 15, 20 years ago that Dominica would get flooded, we would simply laugh at you, because we would get weeks of rain and the rain would just washed away into the oceans. That's not the case now. With half an hour rain, there's flooding in some parts. At least the accumulation of water settling in some parts, and every single river in this country poses some danger to residents and road users and properties. And we continue dredging of many of these rivers. So we're not taking anything for granted. And I'm saying to the people of this country, as the Prime Minister of Dominica, I am preoccupied with preparations for tropical storm Irma. I'm certainly preoccupied with this, because we just can't afford it, and we continue to pray. But with the prayer, we must also take action, and that's what we're doing. And I'm calling on every single citizen um, to treat with this approaching system seriously. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm very concerned. Very concerned. The As I said, we cannot afford any damage. Just 2 years ago, over 90% of our gross domestic product was affected, with a $1.3 billion um, damage package cost. And while some of us would drive across the country and not realize that we were just 2 years ago, many parts of the country were unpassable and inaccessible, and people's lives were turned upside down because, in all fairness, we've done tremendous work in our response to Erica. Notwithstanding the fact that we're still a long way away from completing our task of rebuilding post Erica, but I am um, very concerned about the damage which water can cause to countries like ours, and we just can't afford it. So whatever we can do as human beings, as citizens, to mitigate against the impact, we should take any action, and we'll leave the rest to the Lord to assist us in doing. But actions we can take, we're ensuring that we do it, and I am in contact with the ODM, the Office of Disaster Management, on a regular basis, getting updates from them, and we will be providing the public with information as we go, as the hours go by. So listen to DBS, listen to the various radio stations, and we provide updates because it's important for us to get the official updates from the ODM. We will go on the internet and we'll take pictures and we'll see what's happening and we can read for ourselves, which is fine. We'll watch the weather channels, that's fine. But in terms of Dominica specific, the ODM would pass in that Dominica specific advisory. So it's important for us to listen. I think we are. I think we are. All things considered, we have a well-structured office of disaster management. The the office is very organized. Mr. Cecil Schillenford, who's been engaged as a consultant and advisor to the government on matters of disaster preparedness, has been doing a fantastic job. Mr. Fitzroy Pascal and his staff, and Mr. Marshall from the Met Office. So we are very fortunate to have competent people at the ODM who are advising the government on disaster matters and disaster management and preparation. So at least certainly from a technical level, we have the competencies in Dominica. I mean, in the OECS, or even I dare say venture out into CARICOM, you may not have many people who are more qualified than Mr. Cecil Schillenford in terms of matters relating to disaster management and preparation. So we have the competencies at the ODM that we can rely on. From a NEPO standpoint, which is in the National Emergency Preparation Planning Organization, you have very committed people, both from the public and especially from the private sector. I say especially from the private sector because in the public, that's our responsibility in the public service. So there are a lot of committed people who make up that NEPO and who avail themselves, who make themselves available to meetings and planning and following up on stuff, on things. So I think by 4 o'clock or so we would have addressed the outstanding issues that the committees reported because they were just to cross check certain things. They put the things in place, but they'll cross check that these things are done, and so they were meeting. They plan on meeting the various committees, some of them today, who have not completed their meetings to do so today. But 2 weeks ago we had a meeting of NEPO where we received reports and so forth, and I felt necessary for us to meet this morning to ensure that all bases are covered and everybody knows where each committee is, because at the end of the day, the grouping must be familiar with all of the issues so that there's better coordination taking place. And I'm pretty satisfied with the reporting that was done this morning. And the police did a fantastic report, and they have everything in place in terms of all of the police stations, the Ministry of Health, the Health Services Committee. They have to follow up on a couple of things, and but the telecommunication services, Dominica, and so forth, always very helpful. The emergency shelters, the volunteers are in place. It's important that residents in the various communities acquaint themselves with the um, with the shelters in their respective villages, you know, so that if we are to make use of those facilities, then we know where they are, because in disaster time our orientation can be impaired because of anxiety, and therefore we should know where our shelters are now in the event that we have to make use of those facilities. Sure. Bon après-midi, Félix, et bon après-midi tout le monde à côté de DBS. Hein. Oui. Oui, oui, c'est un bon point qu'on fait. Puis ça m'a dit, c'est mon. Ou qu'à aller sur Internet là, ou que voyez, ça y regarder. Et puis, ou regarder la télévision, il y a dit, c'est les World Islands là. Mais Dominique, à présent, nous assez en tropical storm watch. So, ça y a dit, nous, c'est storm là qui affecte Dominique. OK? Nous qui taper la pluie. Et puis, nous qui taper anti-vent. So, nous, pour préparer pour ça. Puis, quand on dit l'appliquer, bah, nous, douleur à présent. Sous 20 ans, 20 l'année passée, 15 l'année passée, la pluie est tombée tout semaine là et puis aller en la mer là. Mais pas présent. Vous comprenez? Nous pas dire ça. Nous avons Barbade, Antigua, c'est place là. Mais à présent, Dominique, Saint-Vincent, Saint-Lucie, nous avons flood. Et puis nous allons bâtir case assez live là. Vous comprenez? Nous couper ces pieds bois là, pas planter au vieux. So toutes ces actions non, actions femmes, actions humaines qui ont affecté manière là là qu'a répondre qu'a répondre pour non, c'est c'est pas blague, c'est pas blague. Oui. Non, c'est pas blague. So, ça nous fait bon matin là, nous tenions un meeting à 10h bon matin pour tous ces comités là dire nous au là vis-à-vis préparation pour ce temps là. Et puis moi content au là nous y est. C'est le comité là qui est meeting après-midi là, 3h, 2h après-midi là pour mettre en place yon débutant yon pas tenir en place bon matin là. So mais généralement, nous n'est pas satisfait puis c'est assez préparation là nous. C'est ça nous fait c'est préparer quoi nous et puis pour aider. Vous comprenez? Mais nous pas là et pour aider pas faire rien. Nous pour préparer quoi nous pour aider et puis dire par Dieu faire passer doit Dominique. Pas passer Dominique mais nous pour préparer quoi nous en plus nous pièces passables ça que fait demain jeudi demain mercredi. Puis, quand vous savez, storm là, à présent qui dit, il ne va pas passer Dominique. Mais dernier du temps, il change quoi? Nouveau storm passer nous et puis vivre. Vous comprenez? Il passe nous droite, mais il vivre et puis il affecte tout l'Ouest Coast Dominique. Donc c'est l'année. Hein? So nous avons une expérience cyclone Dominique. Et puis nous savons ça cyclone qu'a fait. Nous savons ça vent qu'a fait et puis l'eau qu'a fait. So nous pouvons préparer nous pour ça. Oui, Mwen sa, tout moun konsene, oui. Sa nou ka di, nou ke gade situasyon la, epi Office of Disaster Management ki ba nou avi, epi le yo ban nou avi la, nou ke pon desisyon. Men nou pa vè pon desisyon aprezen panen l'ekol, panen travay an so. Men nou ke gade situasyon la, so nou ke ban nou advisory, kon nou ka ale anjorde la, so la. Men, sa mwen ke di, Pep Dominic, nous ne pouvons jamais être correspondant en situation pour en danger. Et puis si il y a envie pour fermer l'école demain, fermer l'école mercredi, nous qui faisons ça. Mais so, écoutez radio là, vous comprenez? Pas regarder la télévision, écoutez radio là aujourd'hui, ou que taper up-to-date report, quand ça qu'a fait, et puis action, nous ne pouvons pas vis-à-vis tant là qu'il y a nous. Exactement. So, ça nous a dit, garder des cas où, tu drain la terre que passe de l'eau, nettoyer. Si vous avez un pied bois ou concerné, couper branche là. Si vous avez un chemin qui bloque un village ou, village council là, PEP, c'est résident là, en place là, venez ensemble et puis débloquer. Puis nous tous nous pouvons action. Si nous on veut mon en l'âge en village où il pas des personnes garder compte, allez garder compte lui. Et c'est assurer qu'il y a un petit glow là, un petit biscuit. Nous ne pouvons garder compte yon a lot. Garder compte oui même, mais nous garder compte yon a lot et puis assister yo pour préparer ces monde là qui passe à assister quoi. Oui. Oui. Mais moi voulais dire mon nom pas point cyclone par là pour en blague. Ou il devait me dire que c'est anti comme c'est Martin Calais, pas Jean Sab. Pas point ça pour blague. Ou voyez ça qu'a fait en Houston, Texas. I mean, yon 100,000 cas affectés, 100,000 affectés. So, et puis c'est mon en misère pour ça. Vous comprenez? Il passe à pour ça. Oui, il a souffert. Il a souffert. Oui, il a souffert. Et puis, nous parlons presque chance. Et puis ça. Nous pouvons faire ça, ça fait, ça nous besoin faire. Mais quand on dit, tout le monde a une responsabilité. Nous tous nous responsabilité. Ce n'est pas seulement le gouvernement ni pour l'ODM. Nous tous nous pour préparer pour ça. Merci. Aussi. Non, pièce pour ne pas pièce, ma connaître pièce pays qui ça afford en disaster par exemple. Pas même l'Amérique même pas ça afford ça. Pièce pays, pas antique, pas Saint-Lucie, pas Saint-Martin. Yo pièce. Nous pièce pas ça afford ça. Bahamas c'est dans les salles même. C'est dans les salles yo tenu en hurricane. Plusieurs îles Bahamas affectées. Moi aller la voir yo. Et puis c'est mon là il va quand même manger quoi yo. Et puis yo ka des sortes américaines là calé droit Bahamas. So yo pas ça faut ça pêche. So nous prier pour tout le monde prier pour nous pour aider pour tous ces pays là. Puis personne pas ça faut ça peut. Merci. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Well, certainly, I know people have been asking questions. Many have posed a question to me about whether there is school tomorrow and so forth. Um, whenever we take these actions, we are advised on these actions by the Office of Disaster Management. It's a matter which we discussed at the NIPO meeting today. And what we decided is that we will study the situation over the next several hours. And the ODM will advise the Prime Minister, myself, at some time this evening on whether we should have school tomorrow or not. So my advice to parents and teachers is to listen to the radio, DBS and others, for the advisories coming from the ODM. So we will certainly inform the parents and teachers well in advance of whether there'll be school tomorrow or not. But you should continue preparing for school tomorrow. And if there is not, then fine. But we will take the action as the hours go by and as we get more updated advisory on the situation relating to Tropical Storm Irma and Dominica being on a tropical storm watch. It's something we've been advocating for a long time, even outside the hurricane season, because all of this are additional hazards that have been created by our own human actions. Dumping of, for example, when the airport was what Cadeville Airport affected, the little old fridges and stoves and microwaves and televisions, and you see the same thing happening in many parts of the country. And therefore we have to take action to stop these things. And also, as I said, there are overhangs. There's a tree affecting our home. We think it's posing a threat. It is our tree. We should cut it, or we should trim it up. In our communities, if there's a drainage block, we don't have to wait for quote unquote the government to come to clear it first. Let us clear it, because if we don't, it will affect our communities. Every one of us has a responsibility to prepare our families, our communities, our country for this upcoming storm. You understand? So we need to ensure that we prepare for this. We take all of the mitigating actions that we can in preparation for the storm. And you're right. It's not only during the hurricane season we've been advocating this, all because there are some actions we can take, and if we take them on, we can reduce on the cost of the damage. You understand? Because damage has a huge bill to it, and every action which you can take to mitigate against damage and so on, we should go ahead and take those actions. Yes, we're in touch with them. We're in touch with the government. They themselves are making preparation. The ODM is also in touch with their counterparts in these respective countries. And we are very concerned for all of these countries that are under the hurricane watch. The Bahamas, for example, is just earlier this year they were impacted heavily this year, right, by the storm. You know, Several islands in the Bahamas were affected. Homes washed away. Electricity was completely wiped away. So there are a lot of actions which 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 have been a lot of hurricanes that have affected those islands, and so none of us can really afford these storms. None of us. I'm not aware of any country, including the United States of America, that can afford a storm now, because the world do not have the kind of resources that are required to addressing those issues. In our case, luckily we got a number of friends to come to our aid and assisted us in the process. But the majority, the bigger cost of the reconstruction is largely borne by ourselves. You understand? And we cannot afford any storm. And I don't think any of the islands in the Caribbean can, in fact, afford any storm. It's up to them. Yeah. We're doing that, and it's continuing apace. We have the complete resettlement of Peter Saban, where 341 homes have been constructed with all of the amenities, the playing field, the marketplace, and basketball court, and roads, and health clinics, and so forth. The Chinese, as you know, will be helping us in the West Coast Road, the reconstruction of the bridges. There's extensive dredging taking place, reconstruction of retaining walls and construction of new retaining walls. So the number of actions that we're taking and so forth, but we still a long way to go. Good day, sir. Good day. Yes, yes, Baron. Good day. I'm fine. Okay. That's good, and that's the attitude which we would like every citizen and every community to espouse. Let us take actions. Let us prepare ourselves. If nothing happens in terms of the storm, thank God. If it comes, then we would have been prepared, and we could mitigate against loss of life and loss of property, and the impact of the storm. One of the other things I would like to point out, Mr. Murphy, before you go to the callers, is that the Ministry of Public Works, in consultation with the Ministry of the Public Works Corporation and heavy equipment operators, what we're seeking to do is to deploy pieces of heavy equipment to different strategic locations across Dominica. So if there are landslides and road blockages and so forth, those equipment will be already physically in those central locations, and we will to clear those roads much quickly than previously. Because one of the challenges you have is a limited number of these flatbeds that normally are used to transport those heavy equipment. So we're seeking to take action preemptively, so that those equipment will be already physically present in some critical areas across the country, areas that we know are prone to landslides and land slippages. Yeah. Yeah. Our our position is the same that we've been consistent the last 2 years. PD7 is not a safe place to live. People can go visit their properties, but it's not a place to reside permanently. What we have done, and the majority of people of PD7 have agreed, is to have them relocated. In the interim, we've been providing rented accommodation to the residents. We're paying the rent for every single family who's renting a home out of PD7. We also have been providing the families with a displacement allowance every month, for a range depending on the size of your family. We cover all the utilities, I believe, maybe except for telephone, to the rented accommodation. We provided for the students attending school to ensure that we can transport them from wherever they reside in and around Roseau. But there are some who've decided, for nostalgic reasons and other reasons, to go back to PD7. And our view is that they're badly advising themselves. Um, we've been advised that it is not a place for people to reside. And I understand people have their farms and people, the mountain durum and so on, the production of that, and that is a major consideration and so forth. But if you can go and take care of those activities and go back home, but not to permanently move there. So my advice, if they're hearing me, is that please do not, you're bad advising yourself. I have recognized that in the following media in the last couple of days that some people are trying to make a politics of this and say that we have not done anything with people of Peter Saban and they reside in there. I have no interest or intention of playing politics with the lives of people. Understanding the safety of Dominican public. I don't have the luxury of playing games with people's safety or playing politics with people's safety. What we have done is that we have gone beyond the spirit of generosity and provide for the people, and we build in 341 homes in Bellevue Chopin. at a serious cost in the state, to provide housing for everybody, including those at the time of Erica who did not have a house in Peter Pan. You understand? And if you had a one bedroom house in Peter Pan, you will not be getting a 2 bedroom house because they only have 2 bedroom up. We refuse to do 1 bedroom because no matter how old a man is, you never know he can get a wife. You know. So we providing for every single family, and that community will be the envy of every one of us in Dominica, no matter where you live, whether you in Santa Roma up there or wherever the middle class, Mondana, where the middle class people live. You'll be envious of this community because they'll get some wonderful homes there with all of the amenities. So this is my advice to them is that they should not reside there permanently. There's nothing wrong in going there and check your farm and the mountain Jerome and so forth. Though I shouldn't be talking about it publicly, I'm sure. But we have to deal with the reality of life. But you shouldn't reside there. Mon- yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. What's your name? Mont Blanc? You live in Mont Blanc in Loda. Okay. What's your name? Something Joseph. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You home now? Okay. I will send somebody to see you this afternoon. Okay. So somebody come see you this afternoon on my behalf. Okay. Take care, my friend. All right. Maybe up until 3:30. Up until 3:30. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, climate change is a major concern for the world, and especially for islands like ours. You know, we are the most affected by climatic change. You know, and we're seeing the more and more the ocean coming into the communities. If you look at Calibishi, for example, a classic case in point is in Calibishi. You go to Calibishi and you will see a building all the way off out at sea. You understand? Or you go to people's homes along the seashore, you'll see where they planted coconut trees some years ago and it's now in the middle of the water, into the sea. Gradually, the sea is eating up all lands and so forth, and also affecting the coral reefs in the process and so forth. So climate change is having a major impact on us, and this whole issue of flooding. I know that there are human activities which are assisting in that effort, but there are also natural occurrences taking place, which is affecting the way the climate um, was positioned to behave in a particular order, but there's no order anymore. Um, and gradually you would have to now to extend the hurricane season. You see, you have to now extend the hurricane season up to November. It's no longer September because we saw where we got this major impact on the trough, as you pointed out in December, the day before Christmas. So it is a mind-boggling thing for us, and this is why we're saying to the international community that the resources which you have pledged to assist countries like ours must be made more accessible by us. It has to be the process, the procurement process must be streamlined. Because when you go and you sign a loan agreement or you get some country under the climate change initiative make a commitment of a grant to you, it takes you too long to access it. Understand? And luckily for us in Dominica, we have some monies of our own, so we have been able to do some things. You know, I mean, you saw how quickly, for example, the Chinese have moved. You see, that's bilateral assistance, so they're able to move much quickly than the multilateral organizations. You see, and it is something that the international community must address. And there's been a debate as to which institution should get the resources. Should it be the World Bank, or should the 5Cs get the resources and let it be more robust in terms of its accessibility to countries like ours. But if they're not going to address the streamlining of the access to the resources, then this whole talk about climate change and the whole climate change agreement would be of no value to us. It would just be an academic exercise. Because what countries need is access to resources in a timely fashion to mitigate against the climatic conditions. You see, when somebody's home is affected, is at risk, or entire community is at risk, you can't wait for years to build the retaining wall. The retaining wall must be constructed post haste. But when you have to go through this long procurement process, it's a challenge. So that's why sometimes you see in the budget debate, budget address, and budget supplement appropriations, we keep repeating some of the projects, because some of these projects are financed externally, and it's a drag, you know. But nonetheless, we have to continue to persevere. We can't give up. We have to continue to fight and make representation on our behalf, and hope that one day the powers that be international community can understand the difficulties we're having. The bureaucracy, you know, there are some other things I could say, but we'll just focus on I'll come back some other time, so I could talk about this this in a more extensive manner. But there's just too much bureaucracy. John Thomas. Yeah, of course I do. You. How are you? Yes, yes. Uh, yeah. You brought it to us? You brought it to us? You serious? Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Are you home this after? You home now? Okay. I'll come and see you after the program. I'll come and see you after the program. Okay. All right. Cool. Take care. Yes. Greetings. How are you? Yeah. Mhm. Well, you're not entitled to any compensation, because compensation is a legal obligation. The assistance which the government has been given to people is not compensation. It is as a result of the good heart of the government, because it's an act of God. And when it's an act of God, then the liability belongs to no one, and therefore it is not compensation. What we have done over time, including as a result of Tropical Storm Erica, we've been assisting people, recognizing their own plight. You understand? Recognizing their own plight and the difficulties which the storm has brought onto them, and we've been assisting people. So the homes, for example, for the 57 people who we're constructing, they're not entitled to a home, but we understand the situation, and in the process of reaching out to them, we're building homes for them. We had no obligation to pay the rent for them that we're currently doing. Businesses that have been affected, where we give them about 40 or 50% of the estimated damage, or somebody who we paid 60% of the value of their household goods. It is not a compensation. What we're saying to farmers and to fishermen and so forth, fisher folk, is to take preemptive action and bring your animal into a safe area, and not expose them to any hazards. In respect to crops and so forth, we will see how things go, but I don't want to make any commitment that if this storm comes, the damages your crops will give you X amount of money. We will deal with the situation as it is if we have to deal with that particular situation. But I don't want to make any prior commitment on behalf of the government at this time. But certainly, if anything happens, God forbid, then we will certainly assess the situation and assess the circumstance as it is. All right. Okay, no problem. I'll arrange to come and see you. No problem. Uh, a good day, sir. Yeah, 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 yeah. No. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, caller. You made some important points. I made reference to them earlier, but not in every detail and so forth. But just to say that in terms of our national security, the chief of police has recalled all police officers who are on rest days. He has called every police officer back into work. We have checked every single police station to ensure and to assure ourselves that everything's in place insofar as the ability of the police to provide security and assistance if needed. The police were exceptional. As you know, after Tropical Storm Erica, they were really, really exceptional in the search and rescue missions and so forth. So that, insofar as security of the state is concerned, the chief of police has everything under control. In respect to the health centers, there's a report from the director of primary health care, who is the chairperson of the health services subcommittee. They're meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock to confirm everything. But based on the report given to her, by her to us, we're generally satisfied with the situation in respect to all of the hospitals, let's say Portsmouth and so forth, and Marigot and National Princess Margaret Hospital and Grand Bale and places, and also the health centers, that they have all of the supplies, that all of these health centers have been provided with supplies to ensure that in the event they need to respond, they're capable of responding and so forth. In terms of ambulances, there were some issues with one district that has been temporarily addressed by the chief fire officer, and so that is in place and so forth. In case of I made point about the heavy equipment, that what we're doing in consultation, collaboration rather with the Ministry of Public Works, the Public Works Corporation, and heavy equipment operators, is to seek to have pieces of heavy equipment deployed to strategic locations across the country. We can't have in every village, but in strategic locations that could be easily accessible if in the event that we require some interventions by these heavy equipment operators. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, we're in a much better position. We're in much better position, I must say, and we have been doing some dredging. We've done some dredging over the weekend. To at least lower the siltation levels at the Melville Airport, Melville River. So in respect to Douglas Church Airport, I think based on the advice from the Ministry of Public Works, we are in a better position than we were to collect some of the water that will be coming from this particular river. Hello, good day, sir. The postal constituency office? Okay, I can arrange to come sometime. I can't tell you what date, but certainly I can arrange to come sometime. Okay, so I will inform so at least you will know so you could come see me. Okay, my brother, all the best. Huh?
Tropical storm watch, of course, is in effect for Dominica. Cabinet, the Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit as well met with officials of the Office of Disaster Management and officials of the National Emergency Planning Organization, and the Prime Minister is bringing us up to date with the situation following that meeting. So let us look at Dominica's preparations as it relates to Hurricane Irma specifically. No, and then I guess there are a few questions probably you would want to ask, but something relating to the weather system. Let's go back to the telephone. You are on. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister.
Hi, good day.
This is Vinetta Walsh from 77 A Street, Kinfield.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember, I came to you about a drain. You came and saw it some time ago.
That's up in Upper Kinfield.
Right, and I told you the guys did not do a good job.
Yeah.
Okay, this morning, their Doasco has a broken pipe, and then the water came through the drain, and it's all in my bedroom. I have to move all my things in the storeroom, move everything.
Well, I'm sure the general manager of Doasco is listening, and maybe and quite possibly the chairman. So I am saying to Doasco they need to come to your house this afternoon to see what they have done to your place and ensure that they can correct the situation.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that the drain was supposed to be done to go up to meet the other half of the drain. It was not done like that. So the water, whenever it rains, water in my bedroom, in the storeroom, I have to be moving my children's thing. I'm in a total mess. I went to the urban council. They came to me. They just brought me some cement to see if I can get somebody this afternoon to deal with it.
Okay, well, I
really need you especially to come and look at it. You make things happen. I want you to look at it.
You want me to come?
I want you to come.
I don't know if you could commit yourself to that, though, Prime Minister.
I want you to come to see it, because nothing is not going to happen unless you get there, and you will make things happen for me.
All right. Well,
okay, thanks for intervention.
Well, message me later. You message me later then.
I'm waiting.
Okay, all right.
Please.
1-800-327 is the number to call, 616-1327 again. Let's stick to some specifics as it relates to Hurricane Irma. I know as
we're in the tropical storm watch, so
yes.
Respect to Dominica,
I know, of course, the Prime Minister has been advocating strongly for us to take the necessary measures, and of course we are all in this thing together, and there are simple things that we can do. Let's ensure that things are being done.
But the key there, I want to because I know there's some people who have a particular view about disasters and preparation for this thing. We must not allow ourselves to be any foolish virgin. We need to prepare for any eventuality, any possibility. And I do not want any one of us in this country to take this lightly. Every one of us was impacted by Tropical Storm Irma. Every one of us, one way or the other. You understand? And therefore, we do not have to go back to distant memory to understand. So it's not only a hurricane that can cause damage to us, a tropical storm can cause, a tropical wave can cause damage to us. As I'm saying, a trough can cause damage to us. So it's not only a hurricane. Understand this. That half hour of rain, an hour of rain, and 2 hours of rain in Dominica now can have a serious impact on many communities in our country. And many people would be relying on the government to assist in responding to this disaster. And I'm saying to the people that the government will not be in a position to respond to the extent that we have in the past, because we're still under reconstruction post-Irma, and it's costing us hundreds of millions of dollars to reconstruct this country just in response to Irma. The Douglas Church Airport has cost us $70 million just to rehabilitate it. You understand? And to build 341 homes, and I'm not talking about Dominica, I'm not talking about other communities, just for one village. It's a huge cost. And thanks to the Chinese that they're helping us on the West Coast Road with $53 million to reconstruct the 3 bridges. You understand? So let us understand that it's not only a hurricane. So not because we're not under hurricane watch or hurricane warning, we must treat this thing lightly. We've been impacted by a trough. We've been impacted by a tropical wave. We've been impacted by a tropical storm. So no longer can our countries in this world not be affected by different types of storms and so on. And therefore, the same level of preparation which you would make had we been under a hurricane watch or hurricane warning, I'm saying to our citizens, it is the same level of preparation which you should make for this tropical storm, because our country is in a tropical storm watch, and we must take all of the actions that have been advised by NEPO and the Office of Disaster Management. Understand? So let us do what we can before, and not be reacting to the storm, but let us prepare, because if we prepare, we can mitigate against the extent of the damage and so on. And if we don't prepare at all, then we'll be washed away.
We go back to the telephone at this time. Good afternoon. You are on. Okay, so we have lost that call. Let's see if this other person is ready for us on that line. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Mr. Prime Minister, there's something I forgot to bring to your attention. In as much of the nature of that business in Petit Savan, and I believe there are some people living in Petit Savan, what would be your advice for Petit Savan? Are we going to put there as a national park? My advice
to my friends in Petit Savan is that they should not reside there. You understand? That's our advice to them. I have met with them on a couple of occasions. I met with the committee that was appointed, the White Cross Section Committee, who's done a fantastic job. We've discussed with them, and they should get out of there. Because I can tell the country, I think down the road that the country and the residents of places like Campbell and places like Bacatel and Fonstasia, in the near future, we need to have some serious discussions about their complete relocation. I recall in 2007, I suggested to Campbell that we should relocate them. There was not an appetite for it then, but we have seen how Campbell had been impacted by tropical storm America. This place is, and you cannot build any retaining wall to hold the soil. It's just impossible to build any retaining wall. The structures will be too high to hold up anything, and the soil there has no stones. It is just like a bun, and another bun is soft cake that we make. Sponge cake, you call it. So. And likewise Peter Savan. And some of the people who make comments about Peter Savan have not been there. It is not a safe place at all. And we should. My advice to them is to get out of this place. You could go there, visit, and change your car if you have a car left there, and carry out your activities and so on. But that's not a place for you to be sleeping on a continuous basis.
Let's take a call on the overseas line. Okay, we lost that call on the overseas line. Let's go to the local number. Good afternoon, you're on. Yes, go ahead.
Good day.
Good day, go ahead, please.
Mr. Pierre, I'm here in the radio and concerned with Hurricane Watch. I'm calling from Gallia. I'm Olivache.
Olivache, greetings.
I heard my church building is on for hurricane shelter, whereas I don't even have a safe home presently with that hurricane. Mm-hmm. And all my writing for global issue, this NWO, World Government issue, my paperwork and everything there, it's at risk presently. Mm. So what concern is this to you?
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure if you get the drift, Prime Minister, but...
Well, I mean, I know the Gallia Nazarene Church has been declared a hurricane shelter, and any building that would have been declared a hurricane shelter, and where you're using private properties, those persons would have been engaged, because the state cannot impose itself on anybody's private property. So there would have been an understanding between the state and the property owner. So I'm sure the ODM is listening, and they will take note of the concern raised by the Nazarene Church if the person is in fact speaking for and on behalf of the Nazarene Church.
Okay, we go back to the telephone. There's a call on the overseas line. Good afternoon. Hello. Okay, we take another call. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead, please.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, PM.
Hi, good day. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you.
Bells.
I'm calling from Bells. I just called
Of course, I know.
Yes, love you, PM.
Thank you, my darling. Love you too.
Yes, bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, well, that's it. All right. 1-800-327, that's the number to call. 448-3284, 616-1327. We go back to the telephone at this time. The Prime Minister is on with us until 3:30 this afternoon. Let's go on. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I have a concern. There's an area up in Beaubois that's in Castle Comfort. Now there's two bridges before you reach the last point, where there's like 4-5 houses in there. And to the last point, there's a river, and they put a culvert to house the river. Now, in regular time, it can house it. But when there is bad weather or river overflow, it overflows, and then it comes on the main road, and then it passes under people's houses. My mother house got affected for for Erica. And the river passed under her house. There were big bulldozers under the house. The pillars, some of them, the balusters going across, how you call it? Anyway, the pillars, those coming down, those going across, some of them, they burst out.
Yeah, so you're saying that the crossing that was built, you have a concern with it?
I have a concern with the culvert.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's called culvert, yeah.
House the river.
Yeah.
Cannot house it. And if that weather that's coming there now sends a lot of rain, that same problem is going to happen.
But,
neighbors have to live and people scared to live in there.
But we'll try to send some people this afternoon. But
they still need to burst out the culvert because
they will.
Cannot
I will leave it to the engineers to deal with darling. Okay.
Thank you very much.
But you and I need to meet because the fact is those homes there are in a bad spot, my darling. Eh? I mean, those homes are right in the river. So you must come and see me. I might come and visit you guys sometimes so we can talk about maybe relocation. I know the homes you're talking about very well. I've been there.
Okay.
Okay. Take care, my darling.
When can I see you?
I will arrange.
Off Island Sunday, so when can I see you before Sunday?
Wow. All right. Make contact with me or something, and we'll see sometime.
Okay. I don't have your number.
I can get you online, but we can find me in my office.
Could I get it from Ivona?
Sure, you can.
Thank you very much.
Prime Minister will have to cut himself in how many pieces? Let's see if we have this caller now on the overseas line. Good afternoon. Hello. Okay, so we lost that call. Another call. Good afternoon. You are on. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, PM. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Okay, I have one. Good. I have one concern.
About
some issues. The thing is, you find people buying property and leaving them abandoned, and most of them migrate. Mm-hmm. One building is adjacent to where I live, and all the galvanized, everything is sticking out. And what do people do, and who is going to be responsible? They are going to say, it's the act of God. Mm-hmm. So what do you do in that situation? I am sorry that I have to address that, but I don't even know who to go to address it. You know?
I think we can get we'll have to get the Ministry of Planning to look at this and see what advice they could give on this. Okay. But it's a serious concern which I agree with you. The property is abandoned, the roofs that are falling apart, and these are hazards, because if the roofs are falling apart, then it gets some wind, it can blow away these roofs and affect people. So it's a point I think we may want to address today or tomorrow. We
go back to the telephone. You are on. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, PM.
Yes, good day, sir.
Okay, I think you know who's speaking, right?
Yeah, I make the voice, yeah.
Okay. PM, I would like you to have, in all the villages, I would like you to have a special body to watch about your culverts.
Yeah.
The culverts are very important for the country. I would like you to have somebody to be cleaning the culvert especially. Because those people you have walking on the road and doing the swiping and so, I suspect nobody are cleaning the culvert. Cleaning the culvert. And the culvert are very, very important.
There's some. I heard you on another radio station earlier today. There's some areas that we've done that work, and what we have to do in many instances, comrade, is to reconstruct these culverts because some of them are too small. You understand?
Yeah.
So they're easy to block. I mean, when you're going to put a 4-foot culvert in any part of Dominica, it's too small, and if you need to clean it, it's almost impossible to clean some of the culverts because the diameter or the circumference of the culvert is so narrow that not even a shovel you can put in there. So the way that we are saying that we if on the West Coast we're going to reconstruct as we started all of the culverts in the West Coast Road. You understand? And do it in a height where somebody can even walk under it to clean it.
Okay.
So it will be high enough, 6-7 feet, that somebody can even stand on the culvert and clear the culvert.
So what you saying now? So according to what you're saying, that none of the small culverts can be cleared now?
No. I mean we're clearing some. We've been clearing some across the country, but I'm saying that in many instances, right? The decision that we've taken is to have those culverts reconstructed.
Okay, we have an next problem, PM.
Mm-hmm.
You see, when you have the people walking on the road and it have a couple stones inside of the drain,
yeah,
I would advise you to ask the small bucket by the time they walk in, that they can take out those big stones that inside of the drains, because most of the drains have been stones that just stay there for the longest while. Yeah. And any water that come in, the water moving.
Yeah. In some cases, your point. In some cases, we've done a lot of this removal of these rocks, especially on the this place, Taro and so on. We've used bobcats and so on. But this place is, as you know, rocks keep falling, stones keep falling almost on a daily basis.
But, you have a job for me. You have a job for me, otherwise you have to come and watch a big wood we have in Layo River.
I heard it this morning.
Yeah.
About the tree and so on.
When you finish what you're doing, come and see the wood, because if the river flowed there and the wood go down in that bridges we have in Layo.
The water is the trees across the river?
No, the trees on the side of the river. It don't trouble nobody, but if the river that been there.
Yeah.
So the river can take it back there and put it back.
Oh, okay.
So I'm saying when you finish, give it a little look, and if a job come in, pass it for me. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Wow. Prime Minister, I know in recent times we have had some strong, heavy rains that would have compromised the structural integrity of a few of the Bailey bridges that we erected.
Only one of them, really.
Right.
Only the one in Makushri. But well, in respect to the West Coast Road, the government of the People's Republic of China will be rebuilding those bridges for us, completely new bridges. That will take into consideration the realities which were exposed by Tropical Storm Irma. So those bridges will take into consideration. So that if we were to be visited by a storm like Erica, those bridges won't be affected. All of those matters will take into consideration. In respect to Boetica, where there's another Bailey Bridge, we are engaging the firm to design that bridge for us. So that is being done. In respect to Emzol, there were some challenges with regards to the bridge being reviewed by a structural engineer. I believe the ministry is in the process of... We had somebody, but that person who was sent to us by the CDB was less than adequate. That person was almost a waste of time, I must say, and spent all these months wasting time in Dominica and never provided us with the kind of advice that was required. So that person has been recalled or removed from the project. That's the whole back there, because this bridge, you need to get sound engineering advice before you go towards the tender for construction. In respect to the Bailey Bridge down at Jennifer, that is part of the UK-funded project that will reconstruct the road from Lube down to Bakatel. So basically, eventually all of the Bailey bridges on all our major roads would be replaced.
Let's go back to the telephone. We have the Prime Minister on. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miss Trish. Good afternoon, Ivona.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to my Prime Minister.
How are you?
Not too bad. I'm not so good, but I'm not too bad.
I heard your comments this morning.
Yes.
And we'll certainly be sending someone to you.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm happy about it.
Up in Kingsville.
Yes.
My 81-year-old friend.
I know you have it so tough.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I know you have it so tough, but and I would like to say something. They asking us to, if we have trees by us, to trim it. Mm-hmm. But we have trees by us to trim, but we cannot do it ourselves.
Okay.
And so long we begging, we have been to DOASCO, we have been all about to do the thing, to trim the trees first, even though we have to put a little cash. I will not be able to put all the what it deserves, what it worth, but at least I can contribute something, and we know the branches because we have a mango tree there. It is very dangerous.
Yeah, we'll send somebody to see you, and you'll show the person this dangerous trees, and we'll see how we can engage.
You must come and visit me one of these days, my Prime Minister.
I will, darling.
I know it's busy with you for now.
Yeah.
But I want to see you, to talk with you, to have a little talk with you.
I promise God willing I come.
Don't fool me, you know.
No, I don't fool anybody.
Okay, my name is Victoria Thomas.
I know.
But if you ask for Victoria Thomas, you'll not get me, you'll get my baby.
Okay. Okay, my darling, take care.
So, and I want to ask a question. As we intend to get the I forget the thing coming, the if the thing is open,
the hurricane shelter.
The shelters are open, as they're giving the warning, like as if we'll have a lot of rain for tonight, and from that, I would like to know because
I think the shelters should be open as of today.
Yes.
So what we're saying to people, if you feel that your home is not secured enough,
yes,
it may be better for you to seek shelter, if not at the shelter itself, but maybe at a neighbor's home or at the official shelter designated by the disaster office.
Oh, we just do that, but I rather to go in the shelter. I feel in more.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
But our shelter is the Kingsville Baptist Church, and I think under Fatima.
Yeah.
But I'm a person, I like to take precaution at very early because I have a bad leg and I cannot walk far.
Sure. So the Kingsville is the Kingsville Baptist Church, and the shelter manager there is Melvin Walsh Leslie.
Yes.
And the assistant manager is Aaron Dyrample.
All right.
Okay.
So
and then you also have the Kingsville Youth Center.
Yes.
Mrs. Clemencia Thomas is the shelter manager. Alison Ostry is the assistant manager.
Yes. If the place is open early, so I will go there at a very early time. I cannot wait at last because I will not be able to walk fast as fast.
Sure.
So have a pleasant afternoon.
Take me down, all the best.
Okay. So
and you sung very well for 81 years old, eh?
Yes, my friend.
You sung much younger than many young people.
Yes. Well, the only problem is the leg that is bad.
I know how it is.
But
81 years, if you look like giving you a problem, not a problem.
Yes. Okay. So take care.
All right. Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
are my family too.
All right. Thank you, my dear. Bye bye.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, let's take one more call before we get the closing remarks from the Prime Minister. Good afternoon. You're on live. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm calling from Woodfordale.
Woodfordale.
And my house is not good and hurricane is coming. So I don't know what to do. The house is leaking. The house is shaking. So I don't know what to do, Mr. PM.
Yeah, well, our advice to you would be to, if your relatives and they have a secure home, you may want to go to the relative's home. That's one option. The second option is that you will have 2 hurricane shelters in the village of Woodfordale. The Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the shelter manager is Wallace Bernard, and the assistant manager is Eversley Joseph. And in respect to the Baptist Church, which is the second hurricane shelter, the shelter manager is Marilyn Moses, and the assistant manager is Don Benjamin.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, take care, darling. How are you otherwise?
I'm fine.
Okay, nice hearing your
voice. I want you to come and visit me in Woodfordale.
Get Miss Ophina to bring you to see me sometimes.
Okay, thank
take
you.
Care, bye-bye.
Okay, I said the last call, but we'll make this one the last one, and then we will hear the closing remarks from the Prime Minister. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, go ahead with your... Hello?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, so I live at Les Point, and there is a culvert which comes from the road, and a lot of water is coming down to, like, my yard. And what happens is that whenever it rains, there's some Gabion baskets that are supposed to be holding up the wall, but now they burst open, and every time it rains heavily, it gets worse. It's like the stones coming out of the basket, and then it's eroding the soil under the house. So all the walls that are in the yard of the house, they broke.
So you on the seaside or you on the mountainside?
Seaside.
Seaside. Okay.
And all the walls in the yard are broken, cracked,
Yeah, this
and
is
every time it's getting worse and worse. I had called someone, I think Emil Lancelot. He sent someone to check it, and they said, because I asked them if they could relocate the culvert because it's causing erosion. He said that it would be easier to fix the area instead of relocating the culvert. But that has been lots of months, and I haven't heard anything from them.
Okay, but I have taken note of this point and last point, and I think I may know the house. It's once in the seaside, so I ask you whether the seaside or
Yes.
But I will ask about this, I promise.
Yes.
And ensure that they get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, man.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thanks for calling. So, Prime Minister, let's get your closing remarks. It's almost 3:30, but I can say from now that we are so happy that we could have you on this program.
The pleasure was mine.
And that we could take the calls as well.
Pleasure is mine to interact with the public and to share information with them. But going back to our original point, we're under tropical storm watch as of 11 a.m. today. Please listen to the radio because the ODM will provide updates and advisories as the day and night go by. Let us rely on the ODM for the official information. If you don't hear it from the ODM, it is not official, or myself, So there'll be two people's authorities which will speak on behalf of the state, the Prime Minister and ODM. If you don't hear it from us, then it's not government official position as yet. But let us take all of the actions we can take now. Let us prepare ourselves. And as we say, if the storm comes, we will be prepared. If it doesn't come, then thank God it did not come, because we really can't afford any storm in Dominica. But the government and the National Emergency Planning Organization, we're not taking this thing lightly. We're not taking it lightly. We are very serious about our preparation and ensuring that everything's in place. We have the technical competence in the country to advise us, and they've been advising us admirably. And the various committees are up to speed with what needs to be done, and let us all do what we can at the various points. And I have taken note of the vulnerabilities which people have raised about their respective communities, and we take note of this, and we ensure that we can deploy people to look at this and to see what can be done to mitigate against any potential adverse impact. So I want to thank DBS for allowing me there, and I'm available to come anytime at short notice, because my entire hours and so on are dedicated to the country's preparation for this storm, and I do not delegate such responsibilities, because I want to ensure that the country is prepared, at least from the government standpoint. We've done all what we can do in the circumstance to prepare ourselves. And I would like for everybody and every community and every business place to be in such a position to say that we've taken all the actions, we've put all the systems in place in the event we were to be affected by this tropical storm. And again, experience has shown us that it is not only a hurricane that can impact on us negatively. It could be a tropical storm, it could be a trough, it could be a tropical wave. We have to prepare in the same manner, because we have seen that a tropical storm has caused more damage to us than a hurricane. So we have to be mindful of this, and we see what's happening in Texas, in particular Houston. And none of us can afford this. So let us do what we can in this circumstance and leave the rest to the Lord to guide and protect us. So I want to wish the country well, which we and continue to pray that we are spared. And while there'll be certain anxieties among all of us, within all of us, we should not lose track of our responsibility to get things done and put things in place. But listen to the radios. We will provide updates as the day and night go, to give you official reports on what should be done in respect to schools. We will make an assessment later this evening, and an announcement will be made appropriately about whether there is school tomorrow or not. And other actions which we'll take, we'll certainly communicate those actions to the wider public as soon as they come. Thank you very much for having me, DBS, and Ivana and Felix Anderson for the part aspect of it. But feel free to call me if you feel that the population needs any particular information or update.
Okay, thanks again, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. It's also Caribbean Wellness Month, and I know you continue to advocate for good health, especially where CNCDs are concerned.
Yes, because
sometimes this month
I would love to come back and talk about CNCDs and what we can do to mitigate it, because I said at a forum once many years ago that the greatest threat to our economies is CNCDs. You know, the prevalence of cancers of all forms, the high incidence of hypertension and diabetes-related illnesses is a major concern for us. I mean, you see in the budget we had to put an additional $5 million to buy medication to provide to persons suffering from various forms of cancer, because the cost of these medications is prohibitive. The cost of surgery, you know, and gone are the days when a doctor would do a surgery for you and you'll pay him if you can and when you can, and you need to show the money up front, and it's costly, and not only here in Dominica, the world over. That's how the world is now, you know. But I would love to come and spend a couple hours with you anytime to talk about CNCDs and what we can do to, as a people, to mitigate against it. And I think one of the critical actions we can take is to watch our diet and to try to exercise as much as possible. Okay? But let me know when you want me to come back. I mean, after the storm is settled and so forth, and we can say to Irma, thanks for coming to Dominica, and or any island in the Caribbean, because really we're all one Caribbean and one country, really. But I'll be more than happy to come back and talk about CNCDs and so on. It's a major preoccupation of mine.
Thanks again, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. Right. And we also say thanks to the listeners on Carry FM. Carry FM, of course.